Welcome. In this lecture, we will explore the fundamental role and nature of research in sociology. Research is essential because it allows sociologists to investigate social phenomena systematically and scientifically. Without research, sociology would be limited to speculation and opinion. At the core of sociological research lies the scientific method. This involves observing social behavior, forming hypotheses, collecting data, analyzing results, and drawing conclusions, all based on evidence rather than assumptions. Sociological research typically follows two main approaches. Quantitative research uses numbers and statistics, such as surveys and experiments, to identify patterns and test hypotheses. Qualitative research, on the other hand, uses interviews, observations, and case studies to explore social meaning and experiences in depth. Planning research requires choosing the right methods, formulating clear questions, and addressing ethical concerns like respecting participants' privacy and well being. Research also faces challenges, including potential researcher bias and the complexity of measuring social life accurately. Balancing objectivity and empathy is key in sociological inquiry. This foundational understanding prepares us to explore specific research methods. Now that we have understood the importance of research in sociology, let's dive deeper into the scientific method, the backbone of all systematic sociological research. The scientific method is a series of logical steps sociologists follow to understand social phenomena through empirical evidence and objective analysis. Step 1 is to ask a clear and focused research question. This question guides the entire study, and it should be specific enough to investigate within a defined scope, but broad enough to contribute meaningful knowledge. Next, researchers review existing literature to understand what has already been discovered, avoid duplication, and refine their questions further. Then they formulate a hypothesis, a testable prediction about the relationship between variables based on theory and prior research. After that comes the research design, a detailed plan outlining how the study will be conducted, including how data will be collected and analyzed. This plan ensures the study is systematic and reliable. Data collection follows, which can involve surveys, experiments, observations, or existing data depending on the research design. Once the data is gathered, researchers analyze it using appropriate qualitative or quantitative techniques to determine if the hypothesis is supported. Finally, researchers draw conclusions that relate back to the original theory or question, discuss the implications, and suggest directions for future research. It is important to remember that scientific research is often iterative. Researchers may revisit and revise questions, hypotheses, or methods as new insights emerge. This methodical approach allows sociology to maintain rigor, credibility, and the power to uncover meaningful truths about social life. Now, we move into specific methods used in sociological research, beginning with quantitative approaches, the study of social phenomena through numerical data and statistical analysis. One of the most common quantitative methods is the survey. Surveys use questionnaires to collect data from a large number of people. They can be distributed in person, by mail, online, or over the phone. Surveys are especially useful for gathering information on attitudes, opinions, behaviors, and demographic characteristics. Surveys can be cross sectional, which means they capture data at one point in time, or longitudinal, where data is gathered over a longer period to observe changes and trends. Another important quantitative method is the experiment. Experiments allow sociologists to test cause and effect relationships by manipulating one or more variables while controlling others. This method is powerful because it can demonstrate whether a specific factor causes a particular outcome. In pre post experimental designs, Researchers measure participants before and after an intervention or treatment to see the effect of that intervention. For example, measuring attitudes towards recycling before and after educational campaigns. Quantitative research helps sociologists identify patterns, correlations, and sometimes causality in social life. However, it requires careful design to avoid biases like sampling bias or measurement errors. Next, we explore qualitative research methods, an essential set of tools for understanding social life beyond numbers. Unlike quantitative methods, qualitative research focuses on collecting and analyzing non numerical data such as interviews, observations, texts, and images. It aims to understand how people interpret experience and make sense of the social world around them. Common qualitative approaches include in depth interviews, detailed open ended conversations that allow participants to express their thoughts and feelings in their own words. Next is ethnography, which is immersing oneself into a social group or culture to observe behaviors and interactions in their natural context. Next is focus groups, guided group discussions that uncover diverse perspectives on a topic. Next, qualitative approaches, case studies, intensive analysis of a single group, event, or organization to gain comprehensive insight. These methods provide rich, descriptive data that reveal meanings, motivations, and social processes that numbers alone cannot capture. Qualitative research often embraces an interpretivist perspective, emphasizing the importance of context and subjective experience. While offering depth, qualitative approaches require careful attention to researcher bias and ethical considerations. Together with quantitative methods, qualitative research enriches sociological understanding by providing nuanced insights into human behavior and social complexity. Next, we explore one of the most crucial aspects of sociological research, sampling and data collection. Since it is rarely possible to study an entire population, sociologists select a smaller group called a sample to represent the larger population. Sampling methods are broadly divided into two categories, probability sampling and non probability sampling. Probability sampling involves a random selection, giving every individual in the population an equal chance of being chosen. This method strengthens the ability to generalize findings to the entire population. Common types of probability samplings include random sampling, which is selecting individuals purely by chance, like a lottery draw. Next is systematic sampling, which is choosing every nth person from a list after a random start. Next is stratified sampling, dividing the population into subgroups, strata, like age or gender, then randomly sampling within each subgroup to ensure representativeness. Next is cluster sampling, selecting whole groups or clusters, such as schools or neighborhoods, often used when the population is vast or dispersed. Non probability sampling does not involve random selection and includes methods like convenience sampling, selecting the most accessible individuals, snowball sampling, finding participants through referrals useful for studying hard to reach or hidden populations, quota sampling, ensuring the sample matches certain characteristics, but selections are not random. Careful sampling improves the validity of research by ensuring that the sample accurately reflects the population, reducing bias. Alongside sampling, data collection methods differ depending on the approach, but must always consider accuracy, reliability, and ethical concerns. Next, we will explore how sociologists analyze and make sense of the data they collect. Data analysis is the critical step that transforms raw data into meaningful insights and conclusions. For quantitative data, sociologists often use descriptive statistics to summarize information, including averages, medians, modes, and measures of variation like standard deviation. These tools help to identify patterns in the data, such as central tendencies and spread. Inferential statistics allow researchers to test hypotheses and make generalizations from samples to larger populations. Common techniques include t-tests for comparing two groups, ANOVA for multiple groups, chi-square tests for relationships between categorical variables, and regression analysis for predicting outcomes based on one or two variables. On the qualitative side, data analysis involves identifying themes, patterns, and meanings within textual or visual data. Common methods include content analysis, which systematically categorizes data, semantic analysis, which searches for recurring themes, and grounded theory, which develops theories based directly on the data through iterative coding and comparison. Qualitative analysis often requires deep engagement with the data, repeated review, and interpretation to understand the complexity of social phenomena. Both approaches can be combined in mixed methods research to provide a fuller understanding by leveraging the strengths of each. Next, we address one of the most critical aspects of conducting sociological research: ethics. Ethical considerations ensure the rights, dignity, and well being of research participants are protected throughout the research process. Researchers must obtain informed consent, meaning participants are fully aware of the research purpose, processes, risks, and their right to withdraw at any time without penalty. Confidentiality and anonymity are paramount. Personal information must be safeguarded, and the identities should not be revealed in any reports or publications. Sociologists must avoid causing harm, whether physical, psychological, or social, to their subjects. This includes being sensitive to vulnerable populations and respecting cultural norms. Historical examples like Tuskegee's syphilis study remind us of the devastating consequences of unethical research. Such cases have led to formal ethical codes, like those from the American Sociological Association, guiding sociologists in responsible conduct. Researchers also face dilemma around balancing transparency with protecting participants, managing power dynamics, and ensuring their own safety in the field. Ultimately, ethical integrity strengthens the credibility of sociological research and fosters trust between researchers and communities. Next, we examine mixed methods research, a dynamic approach combining both quantitative and qualitative techniques. Mixed methods research integrates numerical data and rich, descriptive data to provide a more comprehensive understanding of complex social phenomena than either method alone. This approach is particularly useful when research questions cannot be fully answered using only qualitative or quantitative methods. There are several key advantages to mixed methods research. Generalizability. Quantitative data provide large-scale trends and statistically valid generalizations. Contextualization. Qualitative data add depth and context, illustrating the human experiences behind the numbers. Credibility. Collecting data through multiple methods on the same topic is called triangulation, which enhances the validity and reliability of research findings. Integration is the heart of mixed methods research. It involves combining data collection, analysis, and interpretation in a coherent way to draw well rounded conclusions. For example, a researcher might survey a large group to quantify attitudes towards education, quantitative, then conduct in depth interviews to explore those attitudes in context, qualitative. Mixed methods research is widely used in sociology because it embraces the complexity of social life, blending numbers with narratives for deeper insight. After gathering and analyzing data, effectively communicating your research findings is crucial to sharing knowledge and advancing sociology. Writing sociological research requires clarity, precision, and structure. Start with a compelling introduction that outlines your research question and explain its significance. Follow with a literature review summarizing existing research and situating your study in that context. Describe your research methods, whether qualitative, quantitative, or mixed, including how you collected and analyzed data. Transparency here is essential for credibility. Present your findings objectively using charts, tables,